Oh, so that is why they hate Tucker Carlson. What's going on, America? This is Kevin from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make sense out of nonsense. And lately, I've been hearing a lot of rumors going around about one of my favorite people, Tucker Carlson. I mean, when I listen to him, I think he's very insightful. I mean, he's very practical. He's reasonable. I mean, there's been times where, I don't know if I agree exactly with that particular point, but he makes a good argument. He doesn't just throw out a whole bunch of just flim-flam. He don't throw out a whole bunch of speculations. He try to be very fair and balanced. And if he does screw something up, he comes back and says, hey, you know what? Made a mistake. Now, I was thinking to myself, that seems like a reasonable guy I could go fishing with, hang out with, maybe even go hunting, kill a couple ducks. For all those that's sensitive about animals and stuff, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings on the inside. But nonetheless, I was thinking he's great. But then I would hear the liberal media come up with all kind of hurtful things about Tucker. Brian Stelter and the rest of them talking about how Tucker mispronounced the wonderful, untouchable, uncriticizable Chameleon Harris and all of that stuff. And yeah, he must be a racist. And I'm going, now, wait a minute. You mean tell me I'm up here watching and supporting a racist? They've been gunning for Tucker a long time, trying to get him off. And I'm saying, man, did Tucker do something bad? Well, I figured it out. Tucker does something that every person who suffers from this cannot stand. This is like kryptonite to Superman. It's like holy water to a vampire. See, when you expose the truth about people who's been lying and being hypocritical, that destroys them. It hurts deep. When you've been out there and got confident with the lies too, you like, man, did you hear how I rolled that one off the tongue? Hey, they believed it, dude. You know what I'm saying? When you were at the water cooler with all the rest of the liars and hypocrites, high-fiving like, yeah, we got our audience again today, man. It was great. Deceived them. They have no idea what's really going on. But then you have someone come behind you. Not only are they beating your tail in the ratings, but then they're exposing your hypocrisy. Ooh, it hurts. It hurts deep. So let's get into this little clip here we want to talk about. Because apparently there's two big subjects that's going around. One, something we've been hearing for the last 4 years, racism. And then the other one is, I guess, this whole discrimination against Asians trying to get into, all these Ivy League colleges, but they getting kicked out even though they passed all the tests and they, met all the requirements. And I guess these Ivy League colleges are picking people for the same reason that Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris. Black. That's it. I mean, you know what? You're a woman. You're black. That's all you need to be the vice president. That's all you need. Apparently, the bar is very low for Democrats. It is all about how we look. Do we look like the Rainbow Coalition? Let us pick folks that aren't qualified, but they look a certain way because of their race or gender, even though we're not supposed to have any genders. But still, that doesn't matter to them. So they have people floating around like Alexandria Cortez, who's a bubblehead. Ilhan Omar, who's a bubblehead and hates the country. I mean, I could go on and on with all of the bubbleheads that's in that party. Hank Johnson, all of those folks who get on there and embarrass them and talk crazy. Federico, Mad Max, Bag of Bones, Nasty Pelosi. All of those folks that get on there. Long as they can tout that we have lots of women, we have black, we have white, Aborigine, we have Muslims, we have all these things, they feel good about it. So when they get out there saying stupid stuff along with the media, Tucker calls them out and exposes their hypocrisy. And that doesn't make them feel good. Let's check out this clip right here.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are hardly deep thinkers. That's the whole point. It's the water bug campaign, right on the surface. But if you ask them, roust them from a dead sleep, what's an existential threat that America faces? Russia, Iran. But number one on the list would be institutional racism. That's the biggest threat we face. Neither one of them can define that term, obviously. Joe Biden gave a speech about it this summer. He didn't even try to define it. He just declared that institutional racism is everywhere. And apparently it is, and they're telling institutional racism caused Kamala Harris to drop out of the presidential primary just as she was about to lose her home state.
So did y'all hear that? What Tucker is pointing out is the priorities of the Democratic Party. Now understand this, I'm going to have to hurt him deep. When your priority is to stay in power, and the main tool that you use to do that is creating a boogeyman, bringing up things that you know you can divide the whole country and drive them to vote for you because of fear and feeling like I'm a victim of all of this systemic racism that's running around, but they never really define it. They don't really point it out and say, let's go get it. If you're going to come up in the crib, get me out my bed, yo, dog, somebody outside done broke into my car and they out there threatening me, man. Go get the squirrely gun. We about to go to war. And I jump up, put my shoes on, and run outside, and ain't nobody out there. Your car's fine. No windows broken out. You can't tell me what they look like, but you just ain't, trust me, man, they was out here. I'm going to start questioning what's going on in your head. And so this appears to be a strategy that the Democrats have been using. So instead of the main issues in our life, you know, Russia or China or our jobs and all the stuff that we sit back, wake up every day and say, man, this is important. Because if I lose my house, I mean, where am I going to live? If I can't save enough money when I, retire, I'm going to starve. You don't want to see me up in no McDonald's at 75 years old. Hello, welcome to McDonald's. Getting lectured by a snotty-nosed teenager who's my manager. Hey, Papa Kevin, come here. You know what? You didn't wipe down the floor good enough. You know what your problem is? See, I don't want to have to do that. These are real issues. But to them, since those issues, they don't have good solutions to, they say, you know what? Let's sweep those under the table and get folks focused on something that isn't real, isn't a major problem, and folks can't figure out we using this to distract them from the real stuff and keep them voting for us because of fake, phony accusations of something they can't catch, can't see. Yeah, man, it's out there. What they're causing folks to do is walk around chasing air. That's what it is. Can't tell you where it's at, where it's going to be. Trust me, though, it's out there. So, let's continue seeing how this all unfolds, since racism is the #1 threat, systemic racism, #1 threat in America.
What would be funny would be to see what would happen if Ivy League schools stopped admitting the low IQ children of famous liberals. What would they think of that? People like CNN's Chris Cuomo, who went to Yale because his dad was the governor of New York. Would the New York Times support that? Shutting down the pipeline for the kids of Democratic politicians to Brown, Yale, Princeton, Harvard? Oh, no. That would hit them where they live. But discriminating against some Korean kids so we can feel virtuous? Oh, yeah, we're for that.
So now, as we see, Tucker is bringing up a very good point concerning the discrimination that takes place when it comes down to Asian kids here that work hard. Now, I'm not hating on the Asians. My whole thing is, if you can get it, get it. There's some cultures that's real good at certain things. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of Asian families instill the, I guess I would say, importance of education. When I talked to a lady from China, she said that when a student came home with a bad grade, it wasn't just a bad grade. They felt like they have dishonored their whole family. Like, I have shamed my whole family. That's serious business. So now you up in the U.S. trying to work hard, and you think you're here for the American dream because it's a fair, equal system, and you study, and you're like, all right, I got straight A's, I got a 4.0, and I killed it on the ACT and SAT, and you submit it to Yale, and it comes back like Chris Cuomo got in over you, but this dude flubbed his way through the whole process, but daddy was the governor or the mayor or whatever, so he got in. I think you would feel some kind of way. But the Democrat solution to all of this systemic racism is to cure it with racism. That's what it sounds like to me. Maybe I'm wrong, Tucker. Please continue explaining how this all works.
Another New York Times writer put it this way, quote, "It is not discrimination to take into account systemic inequality." Oh, right. So in other words, it's not discrimination to discriminate as long as I'm the beneficiary of the discrimination. Okay, so that's how it works. But isn't that how the Jim Crow South worked? Yeah. But the left doesn't care about details. According to the New York Times, if you're an African-American student who got a Mercedes from your parents for your 18th birthday, you were the victim of systemic inequality. You need a 200-point bonus on your SAT. But if you're a kid from Appalachia who grew up in a trailer park without parents and had to work your way through high school at Crystal Burger, you were the beneficiary of systemic racism. Not one person believes that. It's absolutely ridiculous. It makes no sense. It's insulting to all of us. It's degrading to all of us because it's too unfair. But they don't care. The goal isn't to convince you. The goal is to make you as cynical as they are. They think they can accomplish that, and maybe they can, by rubbing their total lack of moral standards into your face.
Wow. Now, I didn't know that. I thought that the left, the Democrats, the liberal media were all about equality, all about fairness, all about doing away with anything that looks, smells, or resembles racism. Right now, they're working towards a utopian society that judges everybody on, their merit, not their sex, their race, none of that stuff, all of that. But it appears that's what's really, I'm thinking, starting to irritate them about Tucker, is that he's starting to sniff out a little bit of hypocrisy. So you got all these folks that write it up very fancy to justify why it's okay to discriminate against these Asian folks, and allow all these rich, kids, they're politicians, to get into these schools. And if you're black, you might not meet the qualifications. And there was a time, don't get me wrong, there was a time in our history where folks was obviously saying, you know what? We are going to discriminate against this very qualified black kid because we just simply don't want him here because they're black. But I think we've made a lot of progress. So I'm thinking, if I'm a college that is trying to be fair, balanced, and stuff like that, if I find a black kid that actually is qualified to get into my Ivy League school, I'm not going to say, you know what, just because he's black. If he's actually qualified, or she, and you bring him to your school, not only do you get a great student, but you also get to check one of them boxes to say, hey, look, man, we're diverse, just in case you come snooping around. Like, I only see, what is he even black? What is he, a mulatto? I don't know what that is. How many black folks? Well, you don't want to just be able to tell them, well, I got 50,000 black kids, but none of them really qualified to get in here. It would be better to say, I got 50 of the top black students that earn their way in here, not because they're black, but because they're great students and happens to be black. But the Democrats, I think, are making up rules as they go and being very selective who those rules apply towards. And Tucker's calling it out, which is hypocrisy. And they don't like that. Let's continue.
Just weeks ago, the media that doesn't care about Yale's overt discrimination against Asians was horrified about the term Wuhan coronavirus because it could hurt Chinese Americans. They said. They never explained how, but they said it. Watch.
The president referred to the coronavirus as a, quote, foreign virus. And I think it's going to it's going to come across to a lot of Americans as smacking of xenophobia.
Xenophobic wartime Trump, where he thinks the only path now is to basically declare the virus public enemy #1, to paint it in somewhat racist terms.
The xenophobia and the racism in outbreak is such a common thing, and it is incredibly dangerous. It is problematic, and it is scary, and I just really want to call that out.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all. No, not at all. It comes from China. That's why.
It is, quote, problematic and scary to criticize the Chinese government, but not to openly discriminate against Chinese American children. But you cannot criticize the government of China. Anyone who does must be silenced. White House advisor Peter Navarro was actually thrown off the air for the crime of telling CNN's viewers where the coronavirus came from.
And I will say that this virus that is affecting the United States right now is the
China virus,
the
CCP
you know what?
virus.
We let you say that once, Peter. Please don't say it again on the show. I know why you're saying it.
The China virus.
All right, Peter Navarro, we appreciate you being with us. I know what you're trying to do there.
I know why you're saying it, the anchor scolds.
Right.
You're not allowed to say certain things on the air in CNN or MSNBC, or else you might start thinking for yourself. Watch.
Well, now, I mean, I just sat there and watched a whole montage of self-righteous folks who, for some reason, became hypersensitive concerning anyone who simply uses the term Chinese coronavirus or Wuhan virus, all of those things. I mean, in spite of the virus coming from that area, just by mentioning it somehow hurts the Chinese people, might maybe hurt their feelings, make folks become more xenophobic in America. Like I'm going to be walking down the street past my favorite Asian restaurant and say, you know what, I would go in there and eat me some, Szechuan chicken. I would go in there and eat me some lemon pepper chicken, but I ain't, because they done brought over that bat, cat, rat, flu stuff, and I don't eat that mess, all right? I don't eat no cat dog. I don't want none of that. They're solely responsible for this Wuhan virus, even though they don't even live in China, they're over here, and I mean, it makes no sense. But because I've been listening to President Trump and some of these, these conservative talk show hosts use the word corona, Wuhan, Chinese virus, the Wuhan, that's what it is. I got tongue twisted. Yeah, the Wuhan Chinese virus, because I've been listening to that, I no longer like Chinese people in America. I no longer like Chinese restaurants, all of that stuff. So, Tucker, if what they're saying is true, I am concerned. I mean, maybe they're just doing their, I guess, good, Samaritan service by fighting against a horrible stereotype that could put folks in danger. I don't know, Tucker. I might disagree with you on this, because obviously these people have a real warm heart for the Asians. They don't want them to be looked at negatively by using things like Chinese Wuhan virus. I disagree with you on this one, Tucker. Let's see what happens next.
The Wuhan coronavirus has now surpassed the 2003 SARS outbreak.
The first U.S. case of Chinese coronavirus was confirmed at one of her hospitals.
Inside that building is the world's first lab-grown copy of the Wuhan coronavirus outside mainland China.
The Chinese coronavirus death toll has jumped to at least 26 people.
The death toll from the Wuhan coronavirus spiked today.
The Chinese virus, the coronavirus that is worrying the whole world.
This comes as the Chinese coronavirus death toll has jumped to at least 26 people and sickened at least 835 people.
Oh, so it was okay to call it the Wuhan coronavirus because it is from Wuhan, probably from a Chinese lab, actually, the evidence shows. But once that became a public relations problem for the Chinese government, you were racist for saying it. So what can we conclude? Actual racism means nothing to these people. What matters to them is whether they can use racial division to advance a partisan political agenda. Where's the ACLU in all this? The ACLU spent, I don't know, about 100 years worrying about racial discrimination. They were always left-wing. They did some pretty virtuous things. But they announced on Thursday that they have no problem with systemic racial discrimination in college admissions. Quote, calling for an end to consideration of race in college admissions threatens the future of campus diversity. Oh, in other words, says the ACLU, we need racism because it brings us diversity. This, it goes without saying, is totally grotesque. That's why almost nobody says it out loud. They don't want you to talk about it because they can't defend it. And in fact, once the words hit the air and people look at them, they realize, wow, this is disgusting. And yet, Kamala Harris supports it. Along with the ACLU, she is pushing to eliminate the core anti-discrimination law in California. We can't say this enough. That's how shocking it is. In the 1990s, Californians passed, by popular vote, Proposition 209. That recognized that giving racial preference is wrong. It's morally wrong. But Democrats have changed their view. Now they understand that discrimination is key to their goals. A caste system, a system in which Americans are rewarded or punished based on how they were born, allows them to take and maintain power.
Oh, wow. I can't believe what I just saw. That is the most blatant form of hypocrisy that you can get. Could that be why they hate Tucker Carlson? In fact, that's probably why they hate a whole bunch of conservative commentators that point out that stuff. I mean, we got a hypocrisy radar built in. We got a deputy dog hypocrisy nose on the front of our face that sniffs it out and exposes it. And they hate that because they just got out there self-righteously attacking folks. How could you call it the Chinese Wuhan, virus, coronavirus, all that stuff? You're a racist. You're a racist. But now they got exposed. They did what some of your parents probably did. Always talking about, you better not let me catch you drinking. Or you better not let me catch you smoking. Or, boy, you better go to school and get good grades. And what happens? You happen to sneak up on them in the middle of the night. They think you sleep. You hear them downstairs playing music and playing cards, listening to some Al Green. Oh, baby. You sure look good to me. And you come down rubbing your eyes, and what do you see? Mom or dad got a drink and a cigarette in the same hand as they dealing cards. Boy, you don't know nothing about no spade. Oh, hey, boy, what you doing up? And you go, Mama, Dad, I thought you had told me not to drink and smoke. You know what, boy? You need to do what I tell you to do and not what I do. I don't think that message goes over very well with the kids. I think it sends mixed signals. I dropped out in the 2nd grade, son, but you better take your butt to school and if I catch you skipping. Now, granted, there might be some sincere reasons why you want your kid to be better than you are in that scenario. But I tell you, man, it's hard to convince folks of something when they see something totally opposite, which what we just saw was totally opposite of what they were saying a few minutes ago. Yeah, you're a racist. And he exposed their hypocrisy. Now, unfortunately, their raggedy audience never see that. See, all those clips, it doesn't ring a bell. When they turn on the fake news networks, they don't have a database in their mind that remember all the times they were saying Chinese coronavirus. All they remember is what they tell them in the moment. All they remember is Trump just called the Chinese coronavirus. You know what? That's xenophobia. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. It's xenophobia. And they have no recollection of all the times that they did. And Tucker helped them with their memory by bringing that up, which sticks a big old fork in the fake phony news. And they don't like it. And that's why they hate him. Now, you've been listening to Kevin in Kevin's Corner. Oh, that was beautiful. Beautiful what you did, though. Anyway, don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, and the notification button. Check me out every Wednesday night. Live in Kevin's Corner on Facebook, YouTube, and my radio blog talk show. Check out Extreme Teas, my sponsor. If you like their products, click on the link below. You'll get a 20% discount. If you want to donate to Kevin in Kevin's Corner, feel free. There's a link below the video to do that. And make sure you're still subscribing. Your notifications are set to all. And we'll see y'all next time in Kevin's Corner. God bless.